Let's start over.
So,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm Dee Dee Rockwell. I'm a longtime local and passionate realtor. I moved a lot as a kid. And so I think this idea of helping people to get home and maximize their home and really to feel at peace with those choices during the transition, that's really where I love to be. So
nice.
I'm a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Colorado Real Estate. Yeah, many, many generations of my family have been here, so I take the job really seriously.
How long have you been a realtor?
I came to the business kind of kicking and screaming. I wasn't really sure that I wanted to be like on the park bench and all that. 2019 is when I ended up finally taking the test and getting my license. But previous to that, I was a preschool music teacher, which is a whole set of skills that definitely supports this, as well as a licensed property and casualty broker, which I didn't like as well because it was a lot of sort of scaring people into what they need to know. Both of those jobs really come into play every day here. So kind of
Yeah, for
interesting.
sure. I agree. It's being a realtor is kind of like being a little bit of everything to different people, depending on what they need. You're kind of like their therapist sometimes.
Well,
Sometimes
getting
you're,
to clarity, right?
yeah,
So you have to be able to listen for those cues of what someone's really saying or what they might not know they're saying.
exactly. Yeah. Sometimes they just don't even know what they want, and you've got to help them figure it out.
Right? Exactly. And so sometimes that takes looking at 25 houses,
Yeah.
or we might like the first one. What I like is when my clients tell me I'm different than any other realtor they've ever met. And I love that because I do think I approach this from more of the client perspective, being able to empathize with those transitions that I had also experienced,
Yeah.
growing up.
Since you've been in real estate, what's been like one of your best experiences that you've helped somebody or something that was a difficult situation that you figured out, just something that sticks out in your mind?
Well, I think helping people to stay calm and remember their goals is one of my favorite parts of each transaction. And you can always expect there's going to be surprises, but how we handle them. I was representing the seller. I think this was last summer, and the lender was really struggling to get through to hit the deadline. And when that agent called me, I said, "Oh, okay, let's figure this out." And that was my response to her. And she commented to me, she said, "Wow, I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you didn't just lay into me." And I thought, well, how's that going to help? If I
Yeah.
start freaking out that we're going to close, I think we ended up closing 3 or 4 days late. And fortunately, my seller was okay with that because all I did say to the buyer was, "Well, I do have a backup. So are we leaving or are we going to get this done?"
Yeah.
So I find that the ability to be that step down transformer, to use the ninja language that Larry
Mhm.
Kendall has, and the ability to help people remember that at the end of the day, this is where we're headed, is one of my favorite parts. And I think that when an emergency happens, that's when I get calm. So,
That's awesome. Because, yeah, in my experience, a lot of people, it's the opposite, where everybody ramps up the tension. People are kind of at each other's throats and looking to blame somebody instead of
mhm.
just getting together and saying, okay, this has happened. It is what it is. How do we fix it?
Yeah, and I think the construction background gives you that practical sense of what is reality and
Yeah.
what will it take to get to your goal. And I have worked with agents I've said this to one gal. It was like, is your job description, is it fighting? Because fighting seems to be sometimes what people want to get paid for. But I feel that I'm getting paid to cooperate, and I feel that I'm getting paid to make sure we get their stress with a lower stress point,
Yeah.
not to earn my keep by poking the bear,
It's
so
not
to
about
speak.
winning.
Well, it is about winning, but it's also about win-win
Yeah.
versus
Okay.
win-lose. And
Yeah.
that's the game that Kendall talks about so well, is that if we're both win-win, if everybody's winning, you take a different stance.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the flip side, what has been one of your worst experiences in real estate? Personal or professional?
Well, yeah, on the personal side, that was where I had some less than ideal experiences. And I was, for instance, buying my new house and ended up doing it without representation, or buying my second house and doing it without representation, or hiring the listing agent to sell the first house and not negotiating for my own purpose, or knowing how much marketing was done, how many people saw my house. I got a full price offer in the first weekend, but not knowing as a consumer what went into that. Was there
Yeah.
competition, or did we just take the first thing? My worst experiences, I think, were my own. And that was something that I think is part of why I was resisting going into this field. And the reason I got into this field is because a friend of mine said, I don't know why you're not in real estate, after I kept hearing that. And I said, well, I don't know why everyone keeps saying that. And the answer was, well, you act like a realtor. And I said, well, I don't know what that means, because I don't think that's true. Like, my realtors were not my favorite at the
Yeah.
and I mean, they didn't go poorly, but there were questions I had even years later. His answer was, you never stop talking. You ask too many questions, and you always want to know the answers to those questions. And you know a freaky amount of stuff about houses. Nobody knows why. And I was like, well, a lot of this old house. I watched a lot of
Yeah.
construction shows growing up, and what I liked was that you could paint your walls the color you wanted, or you could make a change, and that to me was very inspiring. I never want to be somebody's bad memory. I literally pick up my phone and wake up every day thinking, what do I need to do to live with my own outcomes? I'm the person who has to be okay with myself.
Yeah.
And I don't want my clients in 5 years to be like, God, we never should have hired her. So,
That's the
because we
worst.
know more than the consumer. And that's like a lot of responsibility that we have to hold there. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I really answered it, because
No, that's awesome.
I've had, fortunately, really good outcomes, and even though, one of my very first buyers, like, it took us extra long to get to the closing, and there was this huge train of people. But the few times I've been in those situations, just keeping everybody calm and reminding them that we are inching toward a common goal seems to help.
Yeah, I
So,
agree. So kind of changing gears a little bit, who is your ideal client?
I don't know, like somebody who
Go
wants
for
to
it.
learn and listen, and
Mhm.
somebody who's in for an adventure, someone who asks really good questions. I love people who ask me good questions, because then I think, oh, and I learn something often throughout the process. So, and basically anybody who finds me, I can assume that I'm putting out that same energy. So I've had difficult clients. Somewhere in there is me too.
Yeah.
I'm attracting that. I'm really grateful. My phone seems to ring, and it ends up being people who are a great fit. I live in Golden. I live on the west side of town. I love to work right here in my community. Anybody really west of I-25 is a great referral for me. It's really easier when I'm working within a 20-minute drive from my house,
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
So,
You kind of alluded to it already, but why do your ideal clients work with you? Why did they pick you, do you think?
well, because they know I'm gonna bird dog it to death. They know that if if there's an answer to be had, I will continue to ask the question until we understand where we are.
Yeah.
And I think that they understand that I'm loyal, and that I came, um, coming from healthcare and the medical and education. There's a lot of confidentiality that I keep for my clients. And I think that's another reason people like to work with me, because they know I have a high bar for integrity. Your position is private, and
Yeah.
it's something I take very seriously. That I think we have really good Colorado contracts that talk about how we're fiduciaries, and I like it when agents are mindful of that. So a lot of my clients, especially being in a small community, I'm not the person who's walking around talking about my business most of the time.
Good.
Typically, it's my clients saying, "Oh, you got to call, you
Yeah.
got to do this." So I think that's why.
Yeah.
And just yeah, I'm nice, but I'm also going to ask the hard questions. So I like to be strategic, and I love the data. I'm kind of a data nerd.
Yeah. That's
What
awesome.
what what are the metrics we can actually capture?
Makes sense. Makes sense. What problems do your clients have that you solve for them?
Well, it seems like a lot of clients in Golden are trying to get somewhere, but it feels like there's nowhere to go,
Mhm.
right? They might be trying to move up or move down or, downsize or just move across town. And so by being hyper involved in my local community and carrying that high level of confidence, I know about things that are happening far in advance. Like I've got a kind of a starter home in Golden that's going to hit the market next week or two, maybe two, who
Yeah.
knows? I'll do my best. And, just keeping that close to my vest and, in my vest and letting people know about that. So I'm solving the problem of what appears to be a lack of inventory in Golden by working with people long term.
I love that because you're solving that problem by being hyper localized. And I think one of the main problems people in real estate, whether that's realtors, mortgage lenders, that we have is that we try to be everything to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you try to be everything to everybody, you end up being nothing to everyone
Mm-hmm.
because you're not the expert, right? They don't look at you as
Yeah.
the expert. But if you really niche down and you say, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it well, you actually
Yeah.
attract those people to you and you are able to help more people.
Yeah, and I mean, at my company, we have 200 or so agents, maybe slightly less,
Yeah.
but they're spread out. So if I need help in Loveland, I'm calling somebody
Yeah.
because the hour and a half drive to Loveland takes me out of that what I'm good at. I mean, you can see from my productivity, my family's lived here a long time. I can get around. I know the whole Front Range, but I'm not sending out postcards, in a neighborhood that's not really where I want to be
Yeah.
because I feel like, there's an agent that lives there that could do a better job.
Yeah.
Um, and I think real estate is by nature. I mean, yeah, we're selling and buying houses all over the world with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, but I'm going to stay in my own, backyard. And
Yeah.
for me, that's Jefferson County primarily.
What's
Cool.
the
You ask good questions, Scott. I like
I'm
that about
glad. I'm
you.
glad. I try. I'm trying to make these helpful for you.
It's
Um,
interesting for
what
sure.
what's something that you wished people knew about you that nobody knows?
Hmm. What a good question. Let me think about that for a minute. I don't know. I mean,
That's a hard one.
I think because I'm all over the place and sort of like, sorry, my managing broker's calling, so I'm gonna
You're good.
decline that. Maybe that I'm not smart, right? I want people to know I am actually very intelligent. I am very teachable, and I love to learn, and I love the data, and I love the strategy. And so I think sometimes people like to pigeonhole you. So,
Mhm.
oh, I have this high voice, or, she's probably not very smart. So
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
that
know.
makes sense.
This is a silly thing to claim your own intelligence, but
No, in the time we've spent together, I think you're super smart. So you're doing a good job. Um,
thanks.
so besides real estate, what are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about family. I'm very, very passionate about taking care of kids, giving them what they need and what you can to support them, not just my kids. Because when I was a single mom raising my kids, I relied a lot on the teachers and the other community members and the PTA moms to wrap us up in this community and help. And so I'm very passionate about helping other people. I love to sing. I love to paint. I
Yeah.
don't do either of those things as much as I used to, but I always know I can come back to it. One of these days I'll just And I love to garden. That's probably my real passion. I think there's
Yeah.
something about digging in the dirt and watching a plant grow from year after year. So I just opened up my wholesale nursery account with one of the oldest wholesalers in Denver. So that's something I'm offering to my clients is
Amazing.
years of support because legacy gardening, that's where it's at. I remember
Yep.
working in the yard with my grannies and they would be trying to coax me into more pulling more weeds or shoveling more whatever, and they'd say, well, I thought you wanted ice cream, kid. But I
Yeah.
learned the names of a lot of plants, and just the fact that they come back every year is so magical, right?
So I lied. I've got one more question. What are your goals this year in real estate?
To stay out of trouble and stay busy. Like you got to be really active in the ethics and
Yep.
active in the legalities of it all because it's changing all the time.
Especially this year.
And yeah, and we talked about this a little bit, right? Like Colorado has better laws in place than other states, which
Yep.
is great. Leaning into my excellent training that I feel like I've gotten through both the Ninja program and my brokerage. We have a high level of compliance at Berkshire Hathaway, and I've always appreciated that because I'm aware that I know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if my phone just can keep ringing and pace myself. I try to take Sundays off when it's appropriate, but just pace myself and enjoy my own garden and my own family because it's taken a lot to work my life into a position where I am. Put the oxygen mask on and help others as much as I can. But primarily, when my phone rings, I picked up a client today who found me on Google and realized that I'm putting my whole heart into this business. I just treat that as it's such an honor to get that phone call. And so hopefully I can rise to the occasion, make their real estate dreams come true, do that over and over and over.
Yep.
I've lost track of what this year has already brought. And it's not something I'm truly tracking until maybe the end of the year.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense. Well, this was awesome. I appreciate you taking some time to talk with me.
It's so thoughtful of you to invite people to
Yeah.
talk about themselves. It's one of those things that's kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
And so I would love to learn more about your business as well. And thank you just for all that you are giving this industry. You do a lot. I see it.
I appreciate you saying that. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying to be better every day.
Yeah, that's right. 10% more every day.
That's right.